Hey, what's going on, everybody? This is Mike Kollin at MikeKollin.com. Okay, so this morning I woke up to a really good question, and I think it's important to go over this. So, RE8, I'm not really sure if it's he or she, so had asked me, said, how does one tell the difference between someone who is avoidant, push-pull love style, and narcissistic? And they based it off of the video that just came out last night, the 14th, so that'll be about 3 or 4 days before this video comes out. It's called the Trauma Bonding Secret. Okay, came out January 14th. Just so you know, the music will go down in about 2 minutes. Now, I gave them a pretty lengthy answer, but I think this video is going to really answer it. And here's the interesting thing I just realized right as I started this. That video, so the title is Sneaky Kindness to Trauma Bonding Secret, Destroying Narcissist Abuse. The thumbnail says Trauma Bonding Secret. Again, it came out January 14th. So if you watch that video and then come back to this video, I think it'll make a lot more sense. Now remember, it's all about shifting perspective. Now here's what I mean. It's not a black or white thing. Because, you know, some people are like, well, how do you know if they're a narcissist or if they're just an unhealthy person? Well, my first rule is it doesn't really matter. If they're unhealthy, they need to seek therapy, they need to seek help. So this is going to help you see something from a much more compassionate angle, because sometimes people do things not because they're narcissists, but because they've been hurt. Now here's the other thing I'm going to point out in this video. Sometimes people are hurting inside and they don't see it. They think it's every person they come in contact that's causing it, because when they're with that person they're feeling this pain, so they're like, oh well, obviously they're doing it. And what they'll do is they'll try to point it out to you. Now here's what I'm saying. This may not be a narcissist, okay? It may be someone who's just hurting. A lot of people just don't know. I mean, it's something like I had to go through years of therapy and healing work and internal awareness techniques and reconnecting and really feeling the pain and going, oh, wait a minute, that's coming from inside me. Okay, I've got a really good example. So most of my life driving a car was a fairly peaceful experience. Well, I moved to the Bay Area, which is a much more denser population. And I moved to a county, Marin County, where arguing is kind of the culture, and I don't mean it in a bad way. It's just this is what people do here. They're very political, overly political, in my opinion. But regardless, that's fine. That literally is their thing. And so there's a lot of arguing and push. There's a lot of push energy. That's probably a good way of explaining it. Now here's the deal: we don't have traffic. But obviously at 7:45 in the morning, when people are trying to get to work, there is about 2, maybe 3 blocks of traffic, okay, before you get to the freeway. Now this was about 10 years ago. They did put a train station in there, so when that's going out, it will back up a little more, about 2 more blocks or so. But for the most part, we don't really have traffic. And so here's what I found ridiculously funny when I first moved here. I'm like, dude, you're like one and a half blocks from the on-ramp to the freeway. Like, what are you worried about? And you can see the cars in the freeway are just flying by. There's no traffic up there. And so what I noticed is people honk their horns and yell and scream, and it's like, and they act like they're in New York, in a city with millions, like literally millions and millions of people, and they've been stuck in traffic for 15, 20 blocks, and they got another 15 blocks to go. But they weren't stuck in traffic. They just came to a stop. Oh, I've got 2 blocks of traffic here. I'm going to honk my horn. And it's like, why? The population here is about, back then I think it was around 40,000. I think it's maybe 46, 48,000 now. It's a spread out city. There's not, and by the way, this is the biggest city in the entire county. The other cities like 12,000, 20,000, very, very small cities. Now, here's the deal. Here's what happened. So there's 4 lanes going down 2nd Street to the freeway, okay, to the highway. And I was in the, let's see, where was I? I was in the far right lane, and there was a guy that had cut over that cut these other people off. And you could tell he's like looking, and he was really angry. I'm like, why is this guy even angry? It's like there's no traffic. I mean, yeah, we got to wait a little bit, but big deal. And he was what he did was he changed lanes, and then he saw a car and he purposely slowed down to try to make it look like, oh, you almost hit me. And so I'm sitting there watching this guy. And then what happened was he changed lanes again. He tried to cut, someone else tried to pull the same thing. Like you could tell he was angry. And I'm like, but why is he trying to involve these innocent people? And it was really obvious. I wish I had a camera. I wish I could show it right now. And so then what happened is, because now I'm watching this guy, I'm keen to what he's already doing. I'm about 4 or 5 cars behind him. I'm just watching this guy. And then what happened was because he kept changing lanes, he kept falling back. And then it's like, oh, he's going to try to do it to me. And what I did was I sped up and I went past him before he looked to the right. And he kind of looked at me all angry, like, almost like, damn, I couldn't get that guy, right? So then he did it to the car behind me. Now here's my point. This guy had a lot of frustration in his forehead, okay? And he was frustrated, but he didn't have a reason. So he was trying to find and or create a reason. Like, oh, you did this to me. And now he could yell and scream and honk his horn and express all of his emotion, which was inside him before he even got on the road. So essentially you could use the word he was trying to blame someone, which is what he was doing. But if you look behind that, you're like, well, what's really going on? It's like he was so upset, angry, mad, frustrated that he needed to get it out, but he didn't have a reason. Like he didn't believe that he could just go off in the forest or off in a field somewhere or empty parking lot and just scream and get it out, or do sprints up a hill 20 times to get it all out. He needed, like, I need a reason to do this. Like, no, you don't. You can just go out on your own. You can just scream. So let's hold on to that thought while we go through this. Okay, so what I did when the question was asked, let's hear it. So how does one tell the difference between someone who is avoidant, push-pull love style, and narcissistic, okay? So I immediately just did a YouTube search and I put that in there, push-pull love style, and a couple of videos came up, and boom, all I did was read this description within those videos. I'm like, well, yeah, it pretty much says itself. So I'm going to read off from both of these, and then I'm going to read something that I wrote, okay? Okay, let me just pull the first one up. So the title is Avoidant Partners Will Push You Away. So in the description, right underneath the views and the date, it says avoidant people have learned to rely on themselves because they've experienced deep pain in relationships throughout their life. So the moment a relationship becomes too deep or intimate, an avoidant person will naturally pull away. One of the ways they pull away is to find fault and shift blame to you. If they put the spotlight on you and what you're doing wrong, they won't have to express how they really feel deep inside, which is the goal for them, as vulnerability is too risky. Okay, so now I'm going to read off something that I respond to on another video, which I can't find for some reason. Someone posted, if she can't accept me at my worst, she doesn't deserve me at my best. So that usually you hear women say, oh, if he can't accept me at my worst, then he doesn't deserve me at my best. Well, here's what I wrote. I wrote, if you're a toxic person, then no. Nobody needs to accept that. That's the point of this video. But if you are a good, healthy, loving, caring person, and you're at your worst financially, but still good to people, then yes, if they don't accept you at that stage, then you do deserve they don't deserve you when you rise up in confidence and financially. So let's say you're a good, healthy person, or you're just a kind, caring, good person. You may not be the most confident person. You may not be the most bold person. You may not be the richest person, etc. But you're a good person. You treated this person well. And if they're saying, yeah, you're not good enough for me. So when you rise up and you become, more confident, happier, healthier, life becomes better financially, etc., well, then they don't deserve you. Now, the reason why I say that is I know a lot of you are empaths. At birth, we're just good to people. We give and we help and we do a lot of really good things. Now, if someone left you when you were a good person and you were good to them because of other factors, you weren't outspoken enough, you weren't educated enough at the time, or you weren't making a certain amount of money, when they come back when you've risen up, they're more than likely they haven't changed one bit. They're only coming back because you're doing better. I'm going to give you an example. There's someone that I knew a long time ago. I just listened to them a while back and I read something they wrote. This person hasn't changed one bit. Their mentality is still at the same level. They're narrow-minded. Their beliefs are the same. Their perspective is exactly the same. Here's the deal. If you're doing better and they come back in your life, and if they left you then, they're going to leave you again when you fall down. They're not showing you consistency. They're not being a true friend or true lover or true partner. And they haven't changed. Don't let them back. They will bring you down or they will leave you dry. Okay, so now let's get to what I wrote. Okay, let's see. So push-pull avoidant narcissist. And it says just read what they wrote in the description boxes. There's another one I couldn't find it, but I think that's good enough. So here's what happens. And I'm gonna actually give them, and this may not be about a narcissist. This may be about someone who just got hurt and they don't know how to deal with it. Okay, I'm going to read it off and then I'll kind of break it down. So they picked you up. So if someone is hurt or they're an avoidant and they do that push-pull thing, they pick you apart trying to find everything that is wrong with you to justify pulling away or to justify feeling they're not good enough for you. Now, a lot of people will hurt you simply because they're like, wow, this person's like got their shit together, they glow, people like them, it makes them feel insecure, so they're going to try to cut you down because then it'll, and here's the thing, yes, that is what narcissists do, but this might not actually be a narcissist. It might just be someone who's hurting and they're just hurting inside. I'm going to explain that and bring it back to the story about the guy in the car. Okay, so let's continue. Okay. So some of the stuff, I actually wrote shit, I have heard is insane. It's laughable, okay, about the stuff that they say about you. Because, okay, here's what they do. They pigeonhole you. So let's say you're this big, expansive ball. Well, they're going to take, let's say it's 20 feet by 20 feet round. It's this big circular ball, right? And that's who you are, your beliefs, your values, your experiences, your love, your happiness, your joy, your spirituality, like everything. And they go all the way down to a centimeter circle, a little tiny, and they're like, that's who you are. This is who you are. You're bad. You're no good. Because all they're doing is they're looking through their own negativity. They're looking through their own darkness. They're looking through their own pain and suffering. And that acts as a filter. They can't see the goodness. They can't see the light because that filter is darkness. So when they're looking, it's like, okay, it's exactly like putting on sunglasses. So sunglasses tint, and some are darker than others. Well, these people are coming from a very, very dark space, a very, very dark place inside. Another way of looking at it is, you ever seen the sunglasses, especially the old 70s Harley riders? They were like red, yellow, and green, and what was the other color? I think purple, right? So I actually have a pair. I think it's in my car, and I use it for my clients. I haven't put it on. I go, so what do you see? They're like, well, everything's yellow. I'm like, okay, and I hold an apple up, and like, what color is it? Like, well, it looks yellow. I go, now take them off. And like, oh, it's red. And then what I would do is I'd put the green glasses on them, and I would hold up a red apple, and it's like, what color is it? Like, oh, it's definitely green, because there are such things as green apples, right? And they take them off, like, oh, it's red. Now, if you have strongly held beliefs about certain people, certain looks, weight, sex, culture, you're not going to see someone for who they are. You're just going to see, you're going to see your belief because you're looking through that colored glass. So this is an image that came from one of our NLP manuals. It's actually in both the Practitioner, Master Practitioner. It might even be in the Trainer's Training, because this is really what everything is about. Our brain will delete, distort, and generalize things because most people can only handle 7 plus or minus 2 bits of information consciously. If you go over that, so 7 minus 2 is 5, 7 plus 2 is 9, so between 5 and 9 bits of information. But your nervous system, your emotions, all the skin around your body, your ears, your eyes, your smell, your taste, your feelings, they're receiving hundreds of thousands of bits of information, from temperature change to wind change, wind change around your ankles versus up at your head. Like, it's picking up all kinds of information. So the way we break that down into 7 plus or minus chunks of information is, It uses your rules, it uses your values, it uses your language, the decisions that you've made as a child. We have these things called metaprograms. So rules, beliefs, values, etc., etc. So it gets filtered through all these filters. That's like having multiple sunglasses on. And it gets filtered through 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 or more filters. And then when it actually gets to you, it's a completely different thing. It may not actually be a green apple. It might actually be red. So this is why meditation is really important. If you can meditate for long enough time to completely clear your filters, when you go out in public, you're going to see someone for who they are for the first time in your life. And like I said in a past video, I noticed if I meditated for 4 hours, I could stay in that clear state for 2. And if I meditated for 5, then 2.5. So you kind of eventually go back unless you really learn how to ground yourself. And these are the techniques that I teach in my internal awareness and emotional grounding course. These are what I call walking meditation techniques. So you're literally going into a state of clarity by doing these techniques while you're out in public. All right, now let me go back to my notes. Okay, so essentially people will pigeonhole you. They're not seeing you at all. In fact, now here's the worst part about it. They are actually projecting onto you who they believe you are based on your hair color, your skin color, your profession, your weight, your height, your state you come from, whatever. Okay, so I come from Napa Valley. Most people think, oh, he must be classy. No, I'm just kidding. Okay, so let's go ahead and finish my notes. So then it says, what they fail to recognize is the pain is not coming from the outside. So these people will have a lot of pain inside, like that guy had frustration in the car. So what they fail to recognize, because they've never learned how to be internal, how to connect in, and just tune in to the emotions and feelings and awarenesses inside their own body. All right, let me reread that again and finish. So it says, what they fail to recognize is the pain is not coming from the outside, it's coming from within them. It's a sting they feel in their gut and solar plexus and sometimes their heart. It's like a tight heart, tight solar plexus, tight heart chakra and sacral chakra. Sometimes it's tight in the forehead. So they are alone, so they need someone to heal that sting. Okay, so here's what I mean. So these people with this push-pull avoidant thing they're damaged people. They're emotionally damaged, and a lot of times instead of dealing with their issue, they're like, oh no, it's you. And they point everything out that's wrong with you, okay? But what happens is they end up being alone, and so then what they do is they start looking for someone to make that sting feel better because they're hurting inside on some level in some way. All right, let me continue on. So they get with you and they feel the sting, so they project it unconsciously onto you because they're like, well, I'm hurting right now and you're talking to me and I hurt, so thus it must be you, thus they blame you. So then they walk away and they feel the sting after, it may not be right away, but after a while they feel the sting again and it hurts for a week, maybe 2 weeks, and then they come back to you for you to make them feel better. It never goes away because they are not healing it. They are projecting it. They're not even recognizing it. See, there's really nothing you can do to heal them. They have to learn how to do it themselves. Now, you can be comforting to them, but they have to want to do the work themselves. They have to be willing to spend time alone and be with that. Now, here's the deal. Some people will use these people or this type of person. They don't want to deal with it. Like, nope, it's not me. It's you. It's you. It's you. It's you. It's you. So everywhere they go, every person they deal with, and what happens with most people, it can take them 30, 40, 50 years to finally go, man, why can't I meet a good person? Oh, you've met a lot of good people. You just pushed them away or you walked away from them. You picked them apart until they couldn't take it anymore. So eventually, okay, there was a friend in high school where her friend, it was on Facebook. So here we are in our 50s and she's like, oh, there's no good men out there. Men are all the same. Men. This is a huge generalization, a huge general belief, which is causing a huge filter. And we've all grown up with her since middle school. And one of her best friends goes, well, what are you talking about? Like, you had one of the best men in your life, but you pushed him away. And then she goes, and then she also goes, my husband's not like that. We've been married for 25 years. He's the best man in the world. He loves me. He this, he that. Now, with this person, we've all known her to be the person who's constantly yelling and screaming. I mean, by the time I was in ninth grade, it's like I liked her as a person, but I couldn't be around her because she would always attack and project and yell and that's what she was known for. Now, I love her to death, and this is not a blame thing, and this isn't actually about her. This is an example. What I'm really trying to say is, narcissists do this, but there are other people who have been damaged by narcissists, okay? Who go into this shell and they think it's everyone around them. Now, if you can get them to go, okay, stop. Now, this is what I teach in my internal awareness course, okay, the emotional grounding course. It teaches you to go inside to expand your awareness. And a lot of people are like, man, I didn't notice how tight my solar plexus was. I've been like this my whole life. I've been like this since I was 15 years old or, whatever. A lot of times we lock down at a young age and we stay that way. We hold our face in a certain way because someone hurt us, someone maybe even physically sucker punched you in the gut. And so your face, your chest, your stomach has been locked down for 25, 30 years and you didn't even know it. It's not a bad thing. I'm not blaming. I'm not attacking. I'm trying to help you to understand something. Sometimes people are hurting so bad that they don't want to feel the pain. I know because after that last narcissist attack, it hurt so bad. That sting in my gut, oh my God, I cannot even explain that. I call it the giant wasp sting, where not only is a big giant stinger, like huge, bigger than a needle, the poison that goes in, it stings. I mean, it hurt for me, I would say close to a year. Now, I do energy healing, and so I help to heal it faster. But I bet it would have lasted much longer than that if I didn't know how to heal myself. All right, so here's what happens. Normally, I have a pretty good, I could stay pretty grounded and compassionate. Compassionate means expanded, open energy, okay? Not focused laser beam. So sometimes people will, let's say, they will strike out at you. It could be little strikes like, oh, you look funny. Oh, your shoe has something wrong with it. Or it could be just this constant nitpicking. Oh, your business name is weird. Oh, this is weird. It's just. And I remember looking at this person, and I just had absolute compassion and love for them, because here's what it was. They were scared to get hurt emotionally. They already had this pain inside, this sting, and they didn't want to get it hurt again. And I can understand that. And the other thing is they weren't dealing with it. Instead, they were striking out at people out of kind of a self-defense thing. But the problem is, if you do this to kind, loving people, you're never going to have kind, loving people in your life. So here's the deal. I realized this was not and is not a bad person at all. This is actually a very loving, kind, good person. It's just that, now I know because I've been through it. Luckily, I was working with an energy healer many years ago when I went through a really, really, really bad breakup with a narcissist. It was really painful. This is 20 some years ago, and she's like, you can't date. I'm like, what? Now, I've always been in a relationship since high school, and usually long-term relationships. I'm like, what do you mean? Like, for how long? She goes, well, how long have you been together? I said, about 7.5, 8 years. She goes, well, about 4 years, a little bit less. I'm like, what? No way. And she was like, no, Michael, you have to. So the rule is, however long you've been together, it should be half the time. So if you're together for 10 years, you should be single for 5 years. And when I say single, no dating, no coffee shops, no hanging out with people. You need to go to work, come home, and spend time alone. And again, it's these internal awareness techniques where you drop your awareness inside and you feel your pain. You feel your guilt. You feel your shame. You feel your hurt. You feel the abandonment wound. And you allow it to feel whatever it's feeling. You allow it to cry. You allow it to hurt. And you're just there in an expanded way. And that's something I have to teach you. And you'll be blown away at how it'll just eventually release and the pain goes away. Because it goes from the concentrated sharp molecules like a sharp needle, which is very concentrated energy, to dispersing and everything becoming round, smooth, and soft. And then it will disperse. You will feel the release. Not only will you feel it, but you'll be around people and like, wow, everything's different. And I don't mean for just that moment, for that day, the next day, the following day. And then people around, it's like, I notice you're not flinching, you're not clenching up, you're not, your face is more soft, more relaxed. Like, people will notice it. See, most people, what they do when they feel emotional pain is they push it down. Now what does that mean? Sure, a lot of us heard like, oh, people will, chain smoke cigarettes, or they'll smoke marijuana every 3 hours, or they'll over exercise. They'll like, some people become workaholics because they're trying to keep themselves busy so they don't have to feel the pain. They can just push it down. Okay. Now there's another explanation. So they do something in excess or constantly keeping their mind busy to distract themselves. So here's what we're really doing. What we're doing is we're clenching up. We're tightening that solar plexus, or that part of our gut, or our heart chakra, or throat chakra, or maybe it's in our head. And usually more than one chakra. Usually most of your chakras will be tightened down. Your muscles tightened down. You're clenched because you're trying to push it down. But believe it or not, that's what causes the pain to not only continue to exist, it causes it to hurt worse. So smoking cigarettes, drinking alcohol, all you're doing is clenching down, clenching down. What you want to do is disperse, relax, and let go. So the first thing you need to do is ground yourself. I'm not going to teach you it in this video, it's too hard. But you bring your awareness inside and you expand it. So it's kind of like Jesus in this image. Even though that energy is expanded around you, his awareness is expanded all the way to the clouds, all the way behind him, all the way beneath the earth, all the way to the solar system. In other words, expanded all the way out. And that's what you do. It's like you notice that little circle or ball of pain in, let's say, your solar plexus. Your awareness expands out. In other words, you completely let go. There's no barrier for your awareness. Kind of like that circle around his head. Even though that's a soft light, there's still a boundary there. You let go of all everything dissolves. It dissolves and it expands. That's what's called holding the space. But the problem is, the word holding is tightening. It's focusing. You don't want to focus. You don't want to hold. You want to completely let go. And this creates space, or expands, and allows you to expand into space. Therefore, all the molecules aren't concentrated in this little tiny sharp little pointy thing, and they expand, and everything becomes soft. After this video, what I want you to do is go lay down on a couch or lay down on your bed somewhere where you can completely get comfortable. It doesn't matter. You can curl up on your side. You can lay on your back. And just have an open, expanded awareness of the feelings and emotions inside your heart, your chest, and your gut. And if your forehead's tight, here's what I want you to do. Same thing with the other areas. This is just one example. Have an open awareness of it. In other words, what happens is usually when we have like a tightness, we get sucked into it. Now we're focused and we're like stuck in it. What you want to do is notice that. Don't try to change it. Allow it to be tight. Allow your forehead to be tight. Also allow your awareness to expand open to the space and room around you. And from that space, have an open, expanded awareness of that part of your body that's concentrated, that's tight, and allow it to be tight. Allow it to hurt, allow it to cry, allow it to feel sad. Just, in other words, you let go of it. You let go of it, and you have an open, expanded awareness of it. So without working with you one-on-one, whether it's in person or over the phone, or in a workshop or in a training, that's a pretty good example and or teaching of how to do it. Be with your emotions. Do not control them. Do not hold them back. Just let them go and allow them to feel what they're feeling. Be with the emotions in an expanded way and allow them to feel whatever they're feeling, and just have an open, spacious compassion for them. These hurt pains inside you need you to be with them. They're scared, they're alone, they hurt. They need you to be with them. Now, if I work with you through the phone or in person or in a workshop, I can use my energy to show your energy, to guide your energy to do what it is that I'm talking about. So in person, it's a lot easier, but I really believe with the last 2-3 minutes of what I described, I believe you can do it. Let me give you one more. I'm going to use the word tip. I don't like to use that word, but we'll use that. Imagine no barriers at all. It completely dissolves. It completely expands to the ends of the universe. And not only that, but there is no ends of the universe. There is no barrier. There's no, just imagine it completely letting go, dissolving. This is how you heal. Once you learn how to do this consistently and get very, very good at it with yourself, now you can be in this space when you're around other people, and it allows them to have that same feeling of spaciousness, which allows them to open up, which allows them to heal their parts. Now, a lot of people that have these sharp pains inside, when you open up like this, it may cause them to try to get you to close, because it's just, okay, just like with you, while I was going through this, you're like, I don't know if I want to open up that much. That's kind of scary, because it seems like it's going to hurt worse. Because when you tighten up, you're like, well, that's like a shield. I'm protecting my emotions. No, what you're doing is you're causing the pain to become sharper. When you completely release and let go, it heals. It expands. It completely releases. But getting to that point, it's a little hard. and the funny thing is, you kind of clench up and you feel the sharpness. Because see, that's the funny thing is, when you start letting go, it starts to clench up and you think, oh no, this is making it worse. So a lot of times when they get around, a lot of people get around me, they will attack me. They will say something mean, or they'll say something, they'll do something, because it's scary going from clenched to opening up, because you think, but then I'll be completely vulnerable, then I'm going to hurt. And even people that you're not even like friends with or in a relationship with or anything, people that are very kind of casual at the grocery store or wherever, they feel this energy about you, and they kind of shit, because it opens them up, and then they're going to want to close up. And what they're going to try to do, they're going to try to sting you to get you to close. It doesn't necessarily mean they're a narcissist. It doesn't necessarily mean that they're a bad person. It just means that they're afraid to open up. A narcissist is someone who's completely closed up and will attack the living shit out of you. And not only that, but they use a bunch of tactics, from love bombing, devaluing, ghosting, hoovering, and they use a bunch of tactics. Now, a hurt person won't do all of that stuff, okay? A hurt person is going to strike at you because they're afraid of opening up. There's a difference. Now, a narcissist, yeah, they do strike at you because they don't want to open up. They totally want to close you. Whereas a hurt person, they don't want to totally close you down, but it's almost like they're kind of pushing you away, like, hey, man, this is too much for me right now. I can't handle it. But a narcissist has other agendas, like they want to suck the life force out of you. They want to destroy you. A hurt person, that's not their agenda. They're not going to, okay, I'm going to ruin this person. I'm going to suck the life out of them. I'm going to do this. Like, no, a hurt person is just hurt. And in the moment when you're open, it'll cause them to strike. But if you can stay emotionally grounded enough and receive that and allow it to go through you and past you long enough, they will eventually open up to you, and they may break down crying and fall into your arms. Now, admittedly, staying this grounded and emotionally expanded and open, it is a challenge. I'm not going to lie, I even get caught up sometimes, especially when I'm tired, distracted, or focused on something else. So it's not a matter of you becoming this perfect being. It's a matter of realizing, like, hey, here's some tools you can learn and develop to help yourself and eventually help other people. I hope this helps to answer that question of how do you know the difference between a narcissist and someone who has the push-pull. My overall answer is this, though. If someone has the push-pull tactic, it is a toxic tactic. And the other word is the avoidant, because the avoidant, this is one of the tactics they do. I don't think they necessarily plan to do it. Here's how I'm going to manipulate the person. Whereas a narcissist, they plan this stuff. They practice this. They go, okay, what am I going to do next? So that's the difference. Someone who's just hurting is just hurting. They're just like pulling away, like the guy in the car. He was hurting. He was upset. Something was wrong, and he needed a way to express this emotion. It's almost like he needed someone to connect with him on that level, and he felt some sense of connection and or rapport. That's a lot of times why people will lash out at other people. Now, that is an extremely compassionate view of someone who's hurting other people because they're hurt, okay? That doesn't mean I'm saying like, oh, so I got to deal with all these people that are mean. No, I'm not saying that. But it would be nice if you could learn how to do this tool and this series of techniques on how to ground yourself and reconnect, and then do this healing work with yourself, so then at the very least you can have this expanded awareness and hold the space for someone else that you care about. That's what I'm talking about. So remember, it's not a matter of being perfectly in this state, perfectly 100% of the time, day and night, whether you're exhausted, tired, haven't slept for 48 hours. That's not what I'm saying. It's something that you can learn how to do to help yourself when you have the time to do it, and for the important people in your life. I have friends that I don't do this with because there's only so much I can do for so many people. So I deal with my clients, and I help the people around me that are very close to me that need it, okay? So, and here's another thing I'm saying, because a lot of people say, oh, so you're perfect now? Like, oh no, there's times when I'm stuck in my forehead. There's times when I'm not grounded. There's times when I'm exhausted. I'm tired. And guess what? I have bad days too. I know, shocker. The difference is I have the tools to deal with it better than I used to. And it's not my job to heal the world. It's my job to help the people that I can help within reason. Man, it's also my job to go and live my life. See, some people will be like, oh, so you think you're perfect now? Like, no, not at all. Not me. God bless you guys. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you like this video, please click subscribe, click the like button, go ahead and make a comment. And if you want, go ahead and make a donation. There's a PayPal link right there in the description box. All right. God bless you guys. I'll see you in the next video. Bye.